My fiancée reconnected with her ex during a break and ignored me for weeks. She came back expecting a wedding, but I had other plans she never imagined. I'm writing this while sitting in my new apartment, still processing everything that happened. I'm Marcus, 29, and until recently I thought I was about to marry the love of my life. Boy, was I wrong. Let me start from the beginning. I'd been with Sarah for 4 years, engaged for the last 8 months. We met in college, both studying business, and seemed perfect for each other. She was beautiful, ambitious, and we had this amazing connection, or so I thought. I'm a software engineer now, making decent money, and she works in marketing for a mid-sized firm. Everything seemed great until about 3 months ago when Sarah started acting different. She'd become distant, always on her phone, and would get defensive whenever I asked what was wrong. She kept saying she was stressed about work and needed space to think about our future. The red flags were everywhere, but I was too blind to see them. She'd disappear for hours without explanation, wouldn't answer my calls, and when I'd bring up wedding planning, she'd change the subject or say she wasn't in the mood to talk about it. Then came the bomb. One evening in March, Sarah sat me down and said, "Marcus, I think we need to take a break. I'm having doubts about us, about getting married, about everything. I need time to figure out what I really want." I was devastated. "What do you mean?" "A break. We're engaged, Sarah. We're supposed to get married in 4 months. She wouldn't look me in the eye. "I know, but I can't shake this feeling that maybe we're rushing into this. Maybe we're together because it's comfortable, not because it's right." I tried to reason with her, suggested couples therapy, anything to save what we had. But she was adamant. She moved out of our shared apartment the next day, saying she'd stay with her friend Jessica while she figured things out. What I didn't know then was that Jessica lived in the same building as Derek, Sarah's college boyfriend, the one she'd dated for 2 years before we met, the one she always claimed to be completely over. For 3 weeks I barely heard from Sarah. She'd respond to my texts with one-word answers, if at all. When I called, she'd let it go to voicemail. I was going crazy, wondering what I'd done wrong, replaying every conversation we'd had, trying to figure out where I'd messed up. Meanwhile, my friends kept telling me something was off. My buddy Jake said he'd seen Sarah at a restaurant downtown with some guy, but when I asked her about it, she said she was just having dinner with a friend from work. My co-worker, Lisa, mentioned seeing Sarah's car parked outside some apartment complex across town multiple nights in a row. The worst part was the wedding preparations. We'd already put down deposits on everything. The venue, the caterer, the photographer, the band. Every vendor kept calling me asking about final details, and I had to keep making excuses about why my fiancé wasn't available to talk. Then, exactly 4 weeks after she'd moved out, Sarah showed up at my door. She looked different, glowing actually. Her hair was freshly done, she had new clothes, and she seemed lighter somehow. "Hey," she said, like nothing had happened. "Can I come in? We need to talk." I let her in, my heart pounding. Part of me was relieved she was back, but another part was angry about the weeks of radio silence. "I've done a lot of thinking," she began, settling onto our couch like she'd never left. "And I realize that what we have is special. I was just getting cold feet about the wedding, but I'm ready now. I want to marry you, Marcus." I stared at her. "Just like that? After 4 weeks of barely speaking to me, you're ready to pick up where we left off?" She smiled that smile that used to melt my heart. "I know it was hard, but I needed that time. I'm sure now. We can start planning again, maybe push the date back a few weeks to give us more time to prepare properly." Something in her tone bothered me. She was too casual, too confident that I'd just go along with whatever she wanted. "What exactly did you do during this break, Sarah?" "I told you I thought about us, about our future. I stayed with Jessica, did some soul-searching and realized that you're the one I want to be with. But I'd learned something during those 4 weeks of misery. I'd done my own soul-searching, and I'd also done something else. I'd hired a private investigator. See, the thing about being a software engineer is that you develop a certain way of thinking. When something doesn't make sense, you dig deeper. When there are patterns you don't understand, you investigate. And Sarah's behavior had too many inconsistencies. The investigator had been worth every penny. Photos of Sarah leaving Derek's apartment at 7 a.m. Photos of them having intimate dinners. Photos of them holding hands walking through the park where we'd had our first date. Photos of them shopping together for what looked suspiciously like engagement rings, but the real kicker was the report about Derek's situation. Turned out he'd been going through a messy divorce and had recently become single again. He'd reached out to Sarah on social media right around the time she started acting distant. The investigator had even managed to get some screenshots of their text conversations, enough to know that they'd been reconnecting for weeks before Sarah asked for our break. So when Sarah sat in my living room, talking about how sure she was about marrying me, I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. "That's interesting," I said calmly, "because I have some things I need to tell you too." She looked at me expectantly, probably thinking I was about to pour my heart out about how much I'd missed her. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder the investigator had sent me. "I want to show you some photos from your soul-searching period," I said, turning the screen toward her. I watched her face cycle through confusion, recognition, and then pure panic as she saw herself and Derek in various compromising situations. "Marcus, I can explain—" "Can you?" I interrupted. "Can you explain why you were sleeping at Derek's apartment every night? Can you explain why you two were looking at engagement rings last Tuesday? Can you explain why you told him you were going to handle things with me so you two could be together?" The color drained from her face. Who told you that?" "Does it matter? What matters is that while I was sitting here thinking I'd done something wrong, wondering how to save our relationship, you were playing house with your ex." She tried to recover, switching to damage control mode. "Marcus, yes, I saw Derek, but it wasn't what you think. I was confused, and seeing him helped me realize that what we have is real. He was just helping me work through my feelings." "By sleeping with you?" Silence. "Look," she finally said, "I made a mistake, but I chose you. I'm here, aren't I? I want to marry you." That's when I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. "Sarah, you're missing something crucial here. You keep talking about choices like you have any to make. Like I'm still an option for you." She looked confused again. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to leave. You're going to go back to Derek or Jessica or whoever will take you, and you're going to stay out of my life." "But, Marcus, we can work through this. People make mistakes." "You're right, they do. And I made one 4 years ago when I started dating someone who could do this to me. But I'm not making that mistake anymore." She started crying then, real tears this time. "Please, Marcus, I love you. I know I messed up, but we have something special. We have a life together, a wedding planned." "Had," I corrected. "We had a wedding planned." Past tense. That's when she got angry. "You can't just throw away 4 years because of one mistake. I came back. I chose you." "You came back because things didn't work out with Derek the way you thought they would, didn't you?" The look on her face told me I was right. "Let me guess," I continued. "Derek seemed perfect until you realized he wasn't ready to commit again so soon after his divorce. Or maybe he just wanted to have some fun with his ex without any strings attached. So you figured you'd come back to your safe option, me, and I'd be so grateful to have you back that I wouldn't ask too many questions." She was sobbing now. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. But here's what you didn't count on. I'm not the same person I was 4 weeks ago. I'm not desperate enough to take back someone who thinks so little of me." I stood up and walked to the door, opening it. "It's time for you to go. Marcus, please, go." She gathered her purse, still crying, and headed for the door. As she reached it, she turned back one more time. "You'll regret this. You'll never find anyone who loves you like I do." I smiled. "Sarah, you never loved me. You loved the idea of me, the stable guy who'd always be there while you figured out what you really wanted. But I deserve better than being someone's backup plan." After she left, I sat back down and called my friend Jake. "It's over," I said when he picked up. "Thank God," he replied. "Dude, we've all been waiting for you to wake up. When do we start?" "Celebrating." Update 1. It's been 2 months since Sarah left, and honestly, life has been pretty great. I thought I'd be devastated, but instead I feel free. The wedding cancellations were actually easier than I expected. Most vendors were understanding, especially when I explained that the bride had run off with her ex during our engagement. I lost some deposits, but I'd rather lose money than my dignity. As for Sarah, well, let's just say karma has a sense of humor. About a week after our confrontation, I got a call from Derek. Apparently, Sarah had been telling him that I was abusive and controlling, and that she'd finally gotten the courage to leave me for him. She moved in with him the day after I kicked her out. But Derek had been doing some digging of his own. Turns out Sarah had been telling him a very different story about our break. According to her version, I was the one who wanted space, and she was just living with Jessica, while giving me time to figure out what I wanted. When Derek realized Sarah had been lying to both of us, he confronted her. The conversation apparently didn't go well. Sarah admitted that she'd been keeping her options open, seeing which relationship would work out better before committing fully to either one. Derek kicked her out that same day. So now Sarah is back with Jessica, who according to mutual friends is getting pretty tired of being Sarah's crash pad every time her love life implodes. But wait, it gets better. Remember how I mentioned Sarah works in marketing? Well, her company has a strict policy about employees bringing drama into the workplace. Apparently, Sarah had been using company time and resources to coordinate her meetings with Derek. Company laptop for personal emails, company phone for personal calls, even leaving work early for their dates. Her supervisor had been monitoring her activities after noticing a drop in her productivity. When everything came to light, they fired her for misuse of company resources and violation of their personal conduct policy. So now Sarah is unemployed, homeless, Jessica gave her a deadline to find somewhere else to stay, and single. And according to her social media, which I occasionally check for entertainment purposes, she's been posting a lot of cryptic messages about fake friends and people who don't understand real love. Meanwhile, I've been thriving. I got a promotion at work, partly because I've been able to focus completely on my projects without the distraction of Sarah's drama. I've been working out more, hanging out with friends I'd neglected during the relationship, and even started dating again. And here's the kicker, remember the private investigator I hired? Turns out he's not just good at catching cheating partners, he's also great at background checks for potential business partners. I've been thinking about starting my own consulting firm, and having someone who can thoroughly vet clients and partners has been invaluable. Oh, and Derek called me again last week. Apparently he wanted to apologize for his part in everything and to warn me that Sarah had been asking mutual friends for my new address. He seems like a decent guy who got played just as much as I did. We actually grabbed a beer last weekend and commiserated about our Sarah experiences. Turns out this isn't her first time pulling something like this. Update 2 6 months post-Sarah. And my life has completely transformed in ways I never expected. First, the business I mentioned. It's officially launched and already profitable. Turns out there's a huge market for cybersecurity consulting for mid-sized businesses. Having that background check service as part of my offerings has been a major selling point. Companies love knowing that their IT consultants have been thoroughly vetted. But here's the really interesting part. Sarah tried to get a job with one of my clients. I found out when my contact there called to ask about her, since she'd listed our old company as a reference and mentioned knowing me personally. I simply said that while I couldn't comment on her professional abilities, I wouldn't recommend her for any position requiring discretion or handling of sensitive information. She didn't get the job. This happened 3 more times with 3 different companies. Word gets around in professional circles, especially in a city this size. Sarah apparently burned bridges with her old company badly enough that they won't give her a positive reference, and her gap in employment is getting harder to explain. But the real drama started when Sarah decided to try a different approach to winning me back. She showed up at my apartment building last month with a letter. The letter was more something else. 3 pages of her explaining how she'd grown as a person and realized that I was the love of her life. She apologized for her momentary lapse, gained judgment, and wanted to rebuild our trust. The best part? She included a timeline of our relationship, highlighting all the beautiful moments we'd shared, as if that would somehow erase the fact that she'd cheated on me and lied about it. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, she tried showing up at my office. Security wouldn't let her up, but she waited in the lobby for 3 hours before giving up. Then she started calling. When I blocked her number, she got a new phone. When I blocked that one, she started calling from other people's phones. I finally had to send a cease and desist letter through my lawyer. That's when things got really interesting. Apparently, Sarah's financial situation has become desperate. Without a job and with her savings depleted, she'd been relying on her parents for support. But her parents finally got tired of funding her drama and cut her off. She tried to move back in with them, but they refused. According to Derek, yes, we're still in touch occasionally, her parents told her that she needed to face the consequences of her choices and figure out her own life. So Sarah did what any rational person would do in her situation. She tried to sue me for emotional distress and financial damages related to our broken engagement. Her argument? I had abandoned her during a mental health crisis and destroyed her reputation by telling people about her infidelity. My lawyer laughed so hard when he read the filing that I could hear him through his office door. The case was thrown out within a week. Turns out you can't sue someone for ending an engagement after you cheat on them. Who knew? But the failed lawsuit had an unexpected consequence. Because it was a frivolous filing, Sarah was ordered to pay my legal fees, since she can't afford to pay them, and her parents refused to help. She's now dealing with wage garnishment from the part-time retail job she finally managed to get. Meanwhile, my life keeps getting better. I'm dating someone new, Emma, a teacher I met through a friend. She's kind, honest, and refreshingly drama-free. We've been together for 3 months now, and it's amazing how easy a relationship can be when both people are actually committed to it. Update 3. It's been over a year now since Sarah left, and I have to share the latest developments because they're just too wild to keep to myself. First, my business is now employing 12 people, and we just landed a major contract with the city government. The background check and investigation services have become so popular that I've hired the private investigator, who helped me catch Sarah as a full-time employee. Business is booming. Emma and I moved in together 6 months ago, and I proposed last month. She said yes, obviously, and we're planning a small intimate wedding next spring. The difference between planning a wedding with someone who actually wants to marry you versus someone who's keeping their options open is night and day. But let's talk about Sarah, because her story has taken some truly incredible turns. About 4 months ago, she managed to get a decent job at a marketing firm in the next city over. I only found out because she started posting about her fresh start and new opportunities on social media. What I didn't expect was the call I got from her new boss 3 weeks later. Turns out, Sarah had been telling people at her new job that she'd previously worked with me on several successful projects. She was using my business and my reputation to try to drum up clients for her new company. She'd even created fake email exchanges between us to make it look like we had an ongoing professional relationship. When potential clients started calling my office asking about our partnership with Sarah's company, I had to set the record straight. Her boss was not pleased to learn that not only did we not have a business relationship, but that Sarah had fabricated our entire professional history. She was fired on the spot. But it gets better. Apparently, during her brief time at this company, Sarah had started dating her supervisor. When she got fired, she tried to pressure him into giving her another chance, both professionally and personally. When he refused, she threatened to file a harassment complaint against him. The company's response was to offer her a choice: take a small severance package and sign a non-disclosure agreement, or face a lawsuit for fraud and defamation. She took the severance. With her second career effectively over and her reputation in the industry completely shot, Sarah decided to try a completely different approach to life. She started a GoFundMe, claiming that she was a victim of workplace harassment and domestic abuse who needed money to rebuild her life. The fundraiser raised exactly $73. Most of the comments on it were from people who knew her calling out her lies. But here's the kicker, and I only know this because Derek told me. Sarah has been telling people that I'm stalking and harassing her. According to her new narrative, I'm a controlling ex-fiancée who's been sabotaging her career opportunities because I can't handle that she escaped my toxic relationship. She's even filed police reports claiming I've been following her and threatening her. The police called me about it, and I was able to provide them with security footage from my office and apartment building showing that I've had no contact with her whatsoever. I also gave them copies of the cease and desist letter and the documentation from her failed lawsuit. The officer who interviewed me actually apologized for wasting my time and suggested I might want to file harassment charges against her for the false reports. I decided not to. At this point, Sarah is doing a fine job of destroying her own life without any help from me. Last I heard, she'd moved back in with her parents after all, but only after agreeing to their conditions. No social media, no dating, and mandatory therapy sessions that they're paying for. Emma and I sometimes joke about it when we're planning our wedding. We've got everything under control. All our vendors are locked in, and most importantly, we're both actually excited to marry each other. It's funny how much better life gets when you stop accepting treatment you don't deserve and start demanding the respect you're worth. Sarah thought she could have everything, the security of our relationship and the excitement of her affair. She thought I'd be so grateful to have her back that I wouldn't ask questions or demand better. She was wrong on all counts, and now while I'm building a successful business and planning a wedding with someone who actually loves me, she's living, with her parents unemployed and facing the consequences of years of selfish choices. Sometimes karma doesn't need any help. Sometimes it just needs patience. Thanks for watching this story unfold with me. What do you think? Did Sarah get what she deserved, or did I go too far? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this tale of relationship karma, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama stories. Share this with anyone who needs a reminder that they deserve better than being someone's backup plan. And speaking of stories you won't believe, there's another incredible tale of family drama and sweet revenge waiting for you right there on your screen. Click to keep the binge-watching going, because trust me, you're going to want to see how this next story ends.